Captain Aaron Blake had seen many worlds, many battles, and many strange creatures across the galaxy. He had fought in wars that destroyed planets and survived ambushes that would have killed a dozen men. But nothing had prepared him for Vera. The moment his ship entered orbit, he knew this world was different. The skies were painted in shades of violet and gold, and the twin suns bathed the land in a strange, warm light. Trees with glowing leaves stretched higher than any human eye had ever seen. Rivers shimmered like liquid crystal, and mountains glowed faintly from within. It was beautiful, almost unreal, but beauty can be dangerous. No sooner had he set foot on the ground than towering alien guards surrounded him. Their skin shimmered like liquid metal, and their eyes glowed with intelligence and suspicion. Aaron raised his hands slowly, but before he could speak, they restrained him with energy cuffs that didn't hurt, yet refused to let him move. They brought him to a massive hall. The ceiling was impossibly high, decorated with swirling patterns that seemed alive. A hush fell as Aaron entered. At the far end of the hall stood the Queen. She radiated authority. Silver hair framed her face and her eyes shone like stars. She was the kind of being who could make a soldier feel small with a single look, and Aaron felt that smallness deep in his chest. "You are far from your home. Human," her voice echoed in his mind, clear and firm. "Yet fate has brought you to us for a purpose beyond your understanding." Aaron tried to speak, but no words came. His training had taught him to assess, to plan, to fight, but nothing had prepared him for this. Before he could gather his thoughts, guards led him to another chamber. Inside were young female aliens, newly adults, their eyes wide with curiosity and fear. Their faces were soft, delicate, but there was something in their gaze that made Aaron's heart tighten. Vulnerability, hope, and the raw uncertainty of youth. The Queen's voice came again, cold yet commanding. "These are our future. Their survival and the survival of our species depends on what you will do here. You, human, will guide them, in ways that are necessary for their growth and for life to continue." Aaron's chest tightened. He had fought enemies that would have killed him in seconds. He had faced betrayals, ambushes, and horrors that would haunt men for a lifetime. But this was different. It was not a battle of weapons or strength. It was a battle of courage, of morality, of heart. One of the young females, Lyra, stepped forward cautiously. Her voice trembled, a mixture of fear and curiosity. I don't understand." "Must it be this way?" Aaron knelt slightly to meet her gaze. "I don't understand either," he said gently. "But I promise I won't hurt you. I'll only guide and protect you." The Queen studied him carefully. Her eyes, though stern, seemed to soften slightly. "You will protect them. You will teach them. And through your actions they will learn strength, trust, and courage." Aaron felt a shiver run through him. This was no longer just about survival. It was about responsibility. The weight of not just lives but futures rested on his shoulders. He had faced death countless times, yet now he understood the true meaning of fear. The fear of failing those who depend on you entirely. That night, Aaron lay in the small cell they had provided. He stared at the glowing ceiling above, thinking of Lyra and the others. He didn't know how he could guide them, how he could fulfill the Queen's command, or even what the future held. But one thing was clear: he could not fail. Not them. Not the human spark he carried into this alien world. For the first time in his life, he understood that courage wasn't just about fighting. It was about standing firm, even when the path was impossible, and heart was heavier than any weapon he had ever carried. The next morning, Aaron was led into the Grand Court. It was far larger than any hall he had ever seen. Alien leaders filled the room, their tall, shimmering forms lined in precise ranks. Their faces were serious, their eyes unblinking, and the air buzzed with tension. Aaron felt the weight of their gaze pressing on him, a strange mixture of judgment and expectation. At the center stood the Queen, her silver hair flowing like liquid light. She raised her hands and a hush fell over the court. "Human Aaron Blake," she spoke, her voice echoing in the chamber. "You have been brought here for a purpose greater than your understanding. Our people face extinction. Our young must grow strong, guided by knowledge, by courage, and by connection. You will serve this role." Aaron swallowed hard. He had known the Queen's command might be strange, but hearing it aloud filled him with dread. "Serve, guide?" he asked, his voice steady despite the fear curling in his stomach. I don't even know your ways. How can I?" "You will learn," the Queen interrupted. "And in doing so you will teach them. You will mate with the newly adult females. Through this bond, they will gain strength, resilience, and wisdom to lead our people. Their survival, and the survival of our species, depends on you." The court murmured, voices blending into a low hum. Aaron's chest tightened. He had faced armies, warships, and merciless aliens, but nothing had prepared him for this. These were not soldiers, not warriors hardened by battle. They were young, vulnerable, innocent. And now, the weight of responsibility for their future fell entirely on him. Lyra stepped forward, her body trembling, her eyes wide with fear and confusion. I don't understand," she whispered. "Why must a human guide us like this? It's our lives, our bodies." Her voice cracked and she glanced at the other girls, who all looked equally frightened. Aaron knelt before her, keeping his voice calm and gentle. "I don't understand either, Lyra, but I promise this: I will never hurt you. I will only guide you, protect you, and teach you what you need to survive." Her eyes searched his face, looking for truth. Slowly she nodded, though fear still lingered in her gaze. Aaron felt a pang of sorrow. How could he protect them when even he didn't fully understand the customs or expectations of this world? Yet he knew one thing with absolute certainty: they must not face this alone. The Queen's gaze softened slightly. "Aaron Blake, your courage will not be tested in battle alone. It will be tested here, in guiding those who have never faced war. Protect them. Teach them. Show them the strength of your species." Aaron's mind raced. He had always believed strength meant weapons, tactics, and sheer force. But now strength meant patience, compassion, and trust. It meant standing firm when faced with confusion, fear, and moral uncertainty. The survival of an entire people rested not on his gun or combat skills, but on his heart and his judgment. The young females watched him with tentative hope, unsure whether he was their protector or their judge. Aaron met each of their eyes in turn. "I know this is hard," he said softly. "I know it feels impossible. But I am here for you. You won't be alone. Together we'll face this challenge. Together we'll survive." A silence settled over the court. The Queen nodded once, slowly, her eyes studying Aaron as if weighing the truth in his words. "Then begin," she said. "Learn each other. Teach each other. And remember, strength is born not only of body but of trust and courage." Aaron's heart pounded, and he felt the enormity of the task ahead. He did not know how he would succeed, but he understood one thing: he would not fail these young females. Not Lyra, not Sella, not any of them. He would stand for them, protect them, and guide them through a journey that no human, or alien, had ever faced before. As he was escorted to the chambers where the young females awaited him, Aaron inhaled deeply. The weight of duty pressed down, yet beneath it a strange fire sparked. This was no ordinary mission. This was a chance to show humanity at its finest, not with guns or warships, but with heart, courage, and the unwavering will to protect life itself. Aaron was led into a chamber that smelled faintly of flowers, though none of them were familiar to him. The room was spacious, bathed in soft golden light that seemed to come from the walls themselves. Here the young females waited, Lyra, Selah, and several others sitting quietly, their eyes filled with fear, curiosity, and something Aaron could only describe as fragile hope. He swallowed hard. He had trained for countless missions where hesitation could mean death. Yet facing these girls, he felt a new kind of weight, the weight of responsibility, of morality, of life itself resting in his hands. Lyra was the first to approach him. Her movements were cautious, as if every step could trigger a disaster. I don't know what to do," she admitted softly, her voice trembling. "I was told you would guide us, but I don't understand what that means." Aaron knelt slightly, bringing himself to her level. "I don't fully understand either," he said gently. "But I can promise this: I will not hurt you. I will only protect you and help you find strength. You are not alone." Lyra's eyes flickered, searching for deception, but she found none. A faint hope stirred in her gaze, fragile but real. "And Sella? She doesn't trust you," Lyra whispered. "She says this is unnatural." Aaron nodded. "I know she's scared, and I don't blame her. This is new, strange, and frightening, but we face it together. You, her, and I. We will not be alone in this." He spent the day walking with them, talking, learning their names, their dreams, and even their fears. Each word, each small smile was a small victory against the fear that had gripped their hearts. Slowly, Aaron realized that his role was not to command but to protect and guide them in a way no one else could. Ravi had never imagined he would share a room with an alien. Not in his wildest dreams. He had always thought aliens were something far away. Creatures in stories or dangers in movies. Yet here he was, standing in front of the quarters assigned to him on the massive space station orbiting the edge of human space. His heart pounded as he looked at the sleek metallic door, wondering what kind of life awaited inside. When the door slid open, Ravi's breath caught. Standing there was Kale, tall and elegant, with pale blue skin that seemed to glow softly under the station lights. His eyes were silver like liquid mirrors reflecting everything in the room. Kale smiled gently, and in a voice smooth and calm he said, "I hope you don't mind sharing a bed. On my planet, that is normal." Ravi blinked, unsure if he had heard correctly. Sharing a bed? With an alien? His mind scrambled. Did Kale mean sleeping in the same room, or literally sharing the same bed? He felt a strange mix of embarrassment and nervous curiosity. Still, he forced a polite nod. Sure. I guess that's okay." Kale's smile widened, almost like he understood Ravi's confusion completely. He stepped aside to let Ravi enter. The room was simple, clean, and strangely cozy. 2 beds were pushed together against one wall, soft lights floating above. A small window showed the endless black of space dotted with stars. Ravi's fear slowly began to mingle with awe. The first night was the hardest. Ravi lay on the edge of the bed, careful not to touch Kale, his thoughts spinning faster than the station outside. Humans were never taught to trust someone so completely, let alone an alien. He could feel Kale's calm energy nearby, a gentle warmth that radiated through the soft mattress. Strange as it was, it made him feel safe. Kale didn't speak. He just lay there, his breathing slow and even. Ravi found himself watching the subtle glow of Kale's skin, feeling his own heartbeat match the quiet rhythm of the room. For the first time in months, maybe years, Ravi realized how lonely he had been. He had always hidden behind his pride, pretending he didn't need anyone. And yet here was an alien, offering trust and closeness without a single condition. The next morning, Ravi woke early, staring at the stars as the station lights dimmed for the day. Kale was already awake, stretching his long limbs, eyes gleaming with curiosity. "Did you sleep well?" he asked softly. Ravi hesitated. "It was different," he admitted, unsure how to explain the strange comfort he had felt. Kale nodded as if he understood exactly what Ravi meant. "Different can be good," he said. "You humans worry too much about space between each other. On my planet, closeness heals. It makes you stronger." Ravi didn't respond, but he felt a spark of something unfamiliar. Hope, perhaps. He realized that this alien, despite being from a planet he couldn't even imagine, was teaching him something he had never learned at home. That trust, connection, and courage could come from the most unexpected places. By the time Ravi left the bed that morning, he felt a little lighter. He didn't understand everything about Kale or his strange customs, but he knew one thing. Living with Kale would change him, whether he wanted it to or not. And deep down, he found himself looking forward to it. For the first time in his life, Ravi felt that maybe the universe wasn't just a cold, empty place. Maybe it was full of possibilities, and some of them came in the form of a blue-skinned alien who smiled and said, "Sharing a bed is normal." And strangely, that didn't scare him anymore. Days passed, and Ravi slowly began to adjust to living with Kale. At first, every sound Kale made, every movement, felt foreign. Kale's skin glowed softly at night, and his breathing was quiet but steady, almost hypnotic. Ravi found himself lying awake sometimes, staring at Kale, wondering what it would be like to live in a world where closeness like this was natural, normal, and expected. Kale didn't pressure him. He didn't make Ravi feel uncomfortable. Instead, he was patient. Each night he would say softly, "Sit closer if you want," or "Lie down," or "Just rest your eyes." Ravi would nod awkwardly, unsure at first, but he began to realize that Kale meant no harm. He wasn't asking for friendship or trust. He was simply offering it. One evening, after a long day of training simulations and human-alien diplomacy exercises, Ravi came back to the room exhausted. He flopped onto the bed and stared at the ceiling. Kyle was already lying there, watching him quietly. "You seem tired," Kyle said. His voice was smooth and calm, like a soft stream flowing through a dark forest. "I am," Ravi admitted. "It's harder than I thought." Everything here is so different. Kyle reached out and his hand hovered just above Ravi's shoulder, not touching, just offering presence. Difference is not always danger, he said. It is a way to grow. You humans, you fight change, but you can also become stronger because of it. Ravi swallowed hard. His eyes stung a little, though he didn't know why. There was something about Kyle, something gentle, unshakable, that made him feel like he could lower his walls without fear. Slowly, cautiously, he shifted closer, just a little. The first night he let himself rest beside Kale, he felt an unexpected warmth, not just from Kale's glow, but from the feeling of safety that came from being near someone who truly accepted him. Ravi realized he hadn't felt this kind of peace in years. Not at home, not at school, not even with his closest human friends. There was a calm here, a quiet trust that spoke louder than any words. Conversations between them became routine yet always fascinating. Kyle talked about his planet's oceans, where the water shimmered in colors humans couldn't see, and about the music his people made, which could touch the mind directly, making emotions visible. Ravi listened, fascinated, and sometimes laughed at the odd comparisons Kale made between human and alien ways of life. One night, Ravi asked a question that had been in his mind for a long time. Do you ever feel lonely? Kale's silver eyes reflected the stars outside the window. Lonely? He asked softly. Sometimes. But closeness heals that. On my planet, sharing a bed is not just for comfort. It is for connection. When we sleep together, we share strength. Fear leaves us. Loneliness leaves us. You humans could benefit from this too. Ravi thought about that for a long moment. He had spent most of his life building walls, protecting himself from disappointment, from judgment from the world. And yet here was an alien, telling him that strength could come from trust, from letting someone in, from simple closeness. By the end of the week, Ravi felt a small shift inside him. He still had doubts. He still worried about what humans would think if they knew how close he had become to Kale. But every night, as he lay beside the blue-skinned alien, he felt a little braver, a little lighter, a little more human in the way that mattered most. Heart open, trust growing, fear slowly fading, and Kale never pushed, never demanded. He simply existed calmly, patiently, glowing softly in the dark. And Ravi, for the first time in a long time, felt at home. Ravi thought he was ready. Ready to trust Kale. Ready to let go of his fears. Ready to embrace the strange but comforting life he had found with his alien roommate. But he was wrong. Humans, as he painfully remembered, could be cruel when they didn't understand. It started small. A glance, a whisper in the hallway. Someone muttering his name when he walked past. Ravi tried to ignore it, telling himself that humans were just curious, that it didn't matter. But soon the whispers grew louder. One morning, a fellow trainee, a tall, stern human named Jaren, stopped him. I hear you're sharing a bed with that. Alien, Jaren said, his voice low but sharp. Is that true? Ravi's stomach sank. Yes, he stammered. It's normal on his planet. It's not what you think, Jaren laughed, a cold cutting sound. Normal on his planet doesn't make it normal here. People will talk. They'll call you weak, strange, even foolish. Are you really okay with that? Ravi nodded quickly, trying to hide his discomfort. But inside, shame twisted like a knife. For the first time since he met Kale, he felt exposed, like someone had shone a light on the part of himself he was afraid to show. He wanted to defend Kale, to explain, to shout, but the words caught in his throat. By the end of the day, the whispers had spread across the quarters. People avoided him in the mess hall. Others stared openly when he walked past. Ravi felt like an outsider, trapped between two worlds. The human one that judged him for his trust, and the alien one that offered safety he feared to embrace openly. Kale noticed immediately. That night, as Ravi sat stiffly on the edge of the bed staring at the floor, Kale's hand rested gently on his shoulder. You carry their judgment like a heavy stone, Kale said softly, but it is not yours to bear. Their fear is not your fault. You are not wrong for trusting me. Ravi looked up, his eyes glossy. It feels wrong, he whispered. Everyone sees this as weird. I don't know if I can face them. Kyle's silver eyes held no judgment, only calm. Then face yourself first, he said. You fear because they judge, yes, but their judgment does not define you. It is only their fear speaking. Ravi's chest tightened. He wanted to believe Kale. He wanted to feel strong enough to ignore the whispers and the stares. But he also knew how fragile humans could be, how much he had learned to care what others thought. For the first time, he understood the courage Kale had shown by being himself in a universe that feared difference. Days passed, and the judgment didn't stop. Ravi tried to hide to avoid the mess hall, the training exercises, even the hay. "Not small," he said softly. "You are learning. Courage is not the absence of fear. Courage is feeling fear and still choosing what is right. You trust, you care, you grow. That is bravery humans often forget." Ravi swallowed, feeling tears prick the corners of his eyes. He had spent years building walls, hiding from disappointment, shielding himself from judgment. And here was Kale, patiently teaching him that strength could be gentle, that bravery could come from kindness, not force. The next day, during training exercises, the whispers escalated. A group of trainees blocked Ravi's path, their faces twisted with suspicion and judgment. "We know what you're doing," one of them sneered. "Sleeping with that alien? Don't think we don't see it." Ravi felt panic rise. Part of him wanted to retreat, to hide in their quarters and pretend the human world didn't exist. But he remembered Kale's words, the quiet confidence that had kept him calm even as humans whispered and stared. And slowly he straightened his shoulders. "No," Ravi said firmly, surprising even himself. "I am not ashamed. Kyle is my roommate. We trust each other. That is all that matters." There was a silence, sharp and heavy. The group didn't expect defiance. Slowly, one by one, they stepped aside. Not all of them understood, but Ravi didn't need their understanding. He only needed to stand for what he believed in. That night, back in their room, Ravi climbed into the bed beside Kale without hesitation. "I did it," he whispered. "I stood up to them." Kale smiled, calm and proud. "You have begun to see," he said. "Trust is strength. Courage is choice. You are not weak. You are more human than many who only follow fear." Ravi felt something warm bloom inside him. For the first time, he realized that human judgment could not define him. It could not touch the trust, the friendship, the bond he had built with Kale. And more than that, he began to understand that maybe humans could learn from Kale's ways. Less fear, more trust, more heart. As he lay beside the glowing alien, Ravi felt a shift deep inside. The storm of whispers, judgment, and doubt still existed outside, but it no longer mattered as much. He had found something stronger. Courage born of trust, bravery born of care, and a connection that defied species, worlds, and expectations. For the first time, Ravi felt whole. After that night, everything changed for Ravi. The whispers in the corridors didn't bother him as much anymore. He had faced the judgment, spoken his truth, and survived. But more importantly, he had begun to understand something deeper, something beyond human or alien, beyond rules and fear. It was connection. Each night, lying beside Kale, Ravi felt the quiet strength of their bond grow. The soft glow of Kale's skin, the even rhythm of his breathing, the gentle warmth of his presence, it no longer felt strange. It felt like home. Ravi realized that this closeness, this simple act of trust, was teaching him what humans had almost forgotten. That courage and empathy often came in quiet, gentle ways. One evening, Ravi hesitated before joining Kale on the bed. "Do you ever feel lonely?" he asked softly. Kale's silver eyes reflected the stars outside the window. "Lonely?" he repeated, tilting his head. "Sometimes, but not when someone chooses to trust me, not when someone allows closeness to exist without fear. Loneliness leaves when hearts connect. Even humans can learn this," Ravi swallowed. He thought of the months he had spent hiding behind walls, trying not to feel too much, too deeply. And now, lying beside Kale, he felt everything he had buried: fear, hope, longing, and finally, acceptance. He realized that he was learning more about himself than he had ever known. Over the next few weeks, their conversations deepened. Kale spoke about his planet's rivers that could change colors with emotion, about forests where the trees whispered secrets of the past, about songs that could convey feelings words could never hold. Ravi listened, fascinated, laughing sometimes and sometimes sitting in silence, overwhelmed by wonder. Each story, each word, was a lesson in trust, courage, and connection. One night, Kale turned to Ravi and said quietly, "You are different from many humans. You do not fear the strange. You do not flee from trust. That makes you strong." Ravi's heart fluttered. "I used to," he admitted. "I used to hide. I used to let fear control me. Kale nodded. That is the way of many. But not you. You are learning that strength comes not only from fighting but from opening your heart. You are learning to feel without walls. Ravi felt tears prick his eyes. For the first time, he realized that Kale had given him a gift far greater than friendship. He had given him trust, acceptance, and a vision of what courage truly meant. It wasn't shouting or proving yourself to the world. It was quiet. It was gentle. It was sharing your heart even when the universe expected you to guard it. That night, as Ravi lay beside Kale, he whispered, "Thank you for showing me this." Kale's smile was soft, calm, and reassuring. No thanks needed. You only needed to see it for yourself. Ravi closed his eyes, feeling the steady warmth beside him. He no longer worried about judgment or whispers. He no longer questioned whether he was right or wrong. Here, in the glow of Kale's presence, he felt strong, human, and yet something more. He felt part of something larger than himself. A bond that could survive fear, misunderstanding, and even the cold judgment of the galaxy. For the first time, Ravi understood that closeness and trust were not weaknesses. They were strength. And as he drifted into sleep, he felt a quiet certainty settle in his heart. No matter what challenges lay ahead, he would face them. Not alone, but with Kale by his side, in trust, in courage, in connection that transcended worlds. In that quiet, glowing room, Ravi realized something profound. Humanity was capable of greatness, not through power or fear, but through empathy, understanding, and the bravery to care. And he was living proof of it. Months had passed since Ravi first arrived on the space station. He had changed more than he realized. The whispers, the judgment, even the fear he once felt, all of it had lost its power over him. He had learned a truth humans often ignored. Courage was not just fighting or proving yourself. True courage was trusting, caring, and opening your heart, even when the world expected you to hide it. Kale and Ravi's bond had grown stronger than either had imagined. Sharing a bed had started as a strange, uncomfortable idea for Ravi, but it had become something far deeper. An unspoken trust, a connection that defied species, customs, and expectation. Each night lying beside Kale, Ravi felt not just safe but alive. He had learned to feel fully, without fear, without walls, without hesitation. One evening, as they watched the stars from their window, Ravi spoke quietly. "Kale, I used to think humans were so afraid of the unknown. But maybe we just need someone to show us how to trust." Kyle smiled, his silver eyes reflecting the distant suns. "Yes, fear blinds many humans, but you are learning that the universe rewards those who open their hearts. You have courage, not because you fight, but because you care." Ravi nodded, a warmth spreading through his chest. He thought of the moments he had spent hiding, fearing judgment, worrying about what others would say. And he remembered the night he had finally stood up to those who mocked him. The courage he had felt then was born from trust, from belief in Kale and in himself. The following day, Ravi noticed something remarkable. Other trainees, humans and aliens alike, began observing him differently. They saw not weakness, not oddness, but bravery, the kind that did not rely on weapons or authority, but on empathy, openness, and trust. Some approached him curious, asking questions. Some began to reach out, sharing their own fears, their own uncertainties. Slowly, he realized that what he and Kale had created was contagious. Humanity could learn to be braver, not through fear, but through care. That night, Ravi lay beside Kale once more. "I never imagined I'd find this," he said softly. "A friend, a guide, a teacher, and yet you're just you." Kale's eyes shone with quiet understanding. "And you are you. That is enough. You have learned what many humans forget. Trust is stronger than fear. Connection is stronger than judgment. Empathy is stronger than war. That is what makes humans truly capable of greatness." Ravi felt tears prick his eyes. For the first time, he understood the meaning of being human, not just biologically, but spiritually. Humanity was not only strength in battle or intelligence in technology. Humanity was courage in the face of judgment, kindness in the face of fear, and the bravery to care when the universe told you to look away. He reached out, brushing Kale's hand gently. "Thank you," he whispered. "For everything." Kale's smile was calm, almost tender. "No thanks needed. You only needed to see it in yourself. And now you can show others." As Ravi drifted to sleep, he felt a quiet certainty settle in his heart. He knew the universe was vast, filled with dangers, prejudices, and challenges. But he also knew something more important, that humans, at their best, could rise above fear. That they could trust, care, and be brave in ways the stars themselves would notice. And lying beside a blue-skinned alien who had become his closest friend, Ravi finally understood the greatest lesson of all. Humanity's power was not just in strength, intelligence, or technology. It was in the heart. In the glow of their room, with the stars shining endlessly outside, Ravi whispered one last thought to himself. On my planet, and maybe all planets, sharing a bed, sharing trust, sharing care, that is what makes us truly human. And for the first time he felt whole.